Mr. Rambert, turn the microphones on.
Please make sure your mics are on. We're going to go ahead and get started. We'll call to order the Wednesday, July 17, 2024, Baboquivari Unified School District Summer Board Retreat. I'll begin with roll call. Mr. Diaz, are you doing roll call?
Yes, sir. President Medina Juan Medina,
Onion Heights.
Board Clerk Kathleen Vance,
Yun, hi, too.
Board Member Sylvia Hendricks,
Hi, too.
Board Member Anna Marie Stevens, and Board Members absent, Board Member Ella Cruz Wood.
Okay, with that, we have 4 present and 1 absent. We do have a quorum. We'll continue with this evening's agenda. Number 2 is our routine business, which should be approval of the agenda, but it's not here. So, I'll motion to approve the agenda this evening for the board retreat for Wednesday, July 17, 2024. Mr. Diaz, you need to make sure that these things are full and completed, please. So this should be approval of agenda. I'm sorry, I didn't see this one, so I didn't catch it. But the next one also doesn't have a date and all of the information needed for the agenda to be approved. Apologies. Ms. Sylvia seconded the approval of today's agenda. All those in favor? Sapo.
Masapa.
Okay. Oh, with that, we have 4 in approval of the agenda this evening. Motion passes. We'll move on. Number 3 is our information items tonight. Letter A is the site presentations from secondary and accelerated. Mr. Diaz.
President Medina, members of the board and members of the community, please help me welcome our first presenter. It's going to be our interim principal, Constance Once. Ms. Once, welcome aboard. Let's give her a hand and let's get started.
Hello, President Buendia, members of the board, and press it. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, good evening, board president, board members, and Mr. Diaz, superintendent. Huh? Did it well? Okay. 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 So, our strategic plan update. I'm going to go ahead and start with our presentation. So we're going to go ahead and start. This is BUSD's vision and mission. This year, we will be working on the secondary campus vision and mission because we've learned that it's really long and it doesn't fulfill our vision and mission at this time. So we are going back to this vision and mission. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the data. As Mr. Diaz likes us to go, what is it? So what? Yeah.
Here's what.
Here's what, so what, then what? Okay, so here's what. We have our AASA data. And if you take a look at this data.
Oh, I'm sorry, Constance. At this point, if you don't mind, going to your binder, go to day 3. And is on day 3, it's going to be section part A. So day 3. And then part A, there it is.
But her
The
data.
AASA data is a
Let me
little
take
bit
this behind
further
your
into the.
presentation.
Oh, okay. That's what I was looking for, because
Yeah.
There's 2 presentations.
No,
Wait,
There's one, but the AASA data is kind of,
Way back.
it's out of order.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
you're okay.
okay, got it.
We'll just head to, there you go. Got it?
So you missed, you went over your stretch goals? BSC?
Yeah, it's out of order. We're gonna do this because following the method of like, here's what,
what?
it was rearranged.
So all this should be going in the front?
Yes,
Okay.
the data should be in front of the stretch goals.
Okay,
Thank you, sorry.
no problem.
Hold on. There's 3 pages of this, right?
Yeah.
I think there actually might be more pieces of data.
Okay.
Those 3. and this one. Did you guys get data from, who was it? From our curriculum and instruction people?
They show them
Demo-
samples of data and what questions to ask based on the data.
This was the presentation from them, so.
Oh, yes, but it was, they only selected randomly a few schools for background purposes.
So it's, they might not have copies of this, Mr. Diaz. I don't know if that matters.
It's not in the.
They
that's not in
don't, that's,
It's not in there.
No, this is the one I was sent to.
it's fine. But you do have these 3 pieces of data, and it's in the link. It's, if you wanna print them, or not, but it's in the same link that you have.
That's mine.
Canvas.
That's the spring one.
I was doing a template, replacing a template. And
I want to share it with you now.
go ahead.
You guys eat already?
I grabbed something, but I just ate a little bit. Yeah, there's some over there. They're almost done. I grabbed one.
I want water.
Oh,
It's in your
That
email.
we did, this is the one I have on the link.
Yeah, click on
yeah,
it.
there's one. Aaron, do you know if there's extra water
It's the same one.
somewhere?
Is the same one?
Water?
Yeah, but these ones are missing.
Is there any
Do we
extra
need a
water?
break, Mr. Diaz, so I can cut the stream so everybody's not just waiting, or are you okay?
I'm sorry?
Can we take a break?
Do we need a break so we can cut the stream, or are you guys, what's going on here? Because otherwise, okay. Aaron, if you could take us off, we'll take a
Yeah.
5-minute break. Thank you.
We printed it yesterday. Did you add those at a later time?
These ones were this morning because.
All right, we'll call the meeting back to order. I'll turn it back over to Ms. Sonte.
Thank you. Okay, so here's what. Our BSC seventh grade data for AASA. This is actually over a 3-year period. You can see in the math department for seventh grade math, our level of proficiency or partially proficiency has kind of stayed the same. We had 94%, we had one proficient in seventh grade math in 2023. And then you go down to seventh grade ELA. And it progresses, and you can see the growth and the colors there. I do want to let you know that we are aware of the reasons for this. Seventh grade hasn't had a consistent math teacher in the last 3 years. So that's to be expected when you don't have a certified math teacher in that area. As far as seventh grade ELA, our ELA teacher actually started last school year in the middle of the year, and you can see that her growth is there compared to like the 2023 year. She had a half year with those kiddos, and then you go to seventh grade ELA, and there's growth in the difference of partially proficient and proficient. We went from 90% minimally proficient in 2023, and in 2024 it went down to 75 minimally proficient. So there's that growth there. And that's what having a teacher, a consistent teacher does. Then we go to grade 8 in math. And again, you see that our students are struggling with the math. And in this area, again, we did not have a certified math teacher at the 8th grade level as well. Last year we did have it. So last school year we did have a certified math teacher. It was her first year teaching, and that's kind of what it looks like as far as the work. And then you go to your 8th grade ELA, which is at the very bottom. We've had a very consistent 8th grade ELA teacher, and you can see that by the colors on the wheel. It fluctuates a little. Wish we had 77% minimally proficient, then we go down to 56, and then we're at 69 again. And then this is our ACT data. This is good information to look at. For juniors, this is the required test, and this goes back, like if you followed education before it was Ames and AZ Merit, then all that good stuff. Now it's our juniors who have to perform for us to the state. And that first year in 2022, that was our first cohort after COVID that had to test. That's when we were doing it hybrid, and those kiddos came in and we tested them on a full day. And you can see their math scores were 8% were partially proficient. Then in 2023, it's 9%, and our current 2024 math ACT scores, 80% were minimally proficient. So we're getting that red, we're getting rid of that red. And one good thing about the 11th grade math is that cohort was the first cohort, so 2024 was the first cohort who actually had to take the ACT Aspire their 9th grade year for the first time. And the difference with ACT is it's a time test. So from K to 8, they're taking tests. For AASA, it's not timed. They can spend the entire day on it. So now when they get to the math test, it's 60 questions in 60 minutes. And it's time. It's a hard time. Time's up. No more bubbling. Move on to the next section. And so it's building their stamina that we're working on at this level, because our kiddos aren't used to going through 5 subjects or 6 subjects in a day and testing. And then the same is seen with that ELA. You see that trend. If you look at 2022, we have 3% proficient, and then we come up to 2% proficient, 3% partially proficient. So that line's really yellow, but we have a bigger yellow line. So we're getting better as we're progressing. That's the what. And then just as background information, the current 7th grade cohort, this one follows them specifically, and this is kind of the information as an administrator on campus that's good for me to see. In 5th grade in ELA, these kiddos had 78 who were minimally proficient. 78% of that class was minimally proficient. Then they get to sixth grade and 82% are minimally proficient. So there's a backslide between fifth and sixth on AASA. That was the new data, I'm sorry. That's where that page, Mr. Diaz, printed for you. And then you go to seventh grade, and seventh grade's able to bring them back to that lower red zone. This is the same group of kids in fifth, sixth, and seventh grade. So that's why this data is important. It's very different than with the previous data I showed you. It was showing you 3 different grade levels, 3 different groups of kiddos. This one's showing you 1 group of kiddos. And then we're gonna go to them, and these are the future 8th graders. So when this group, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, as 5th graders, we were able to get 5% partially proficient. In 6th grade, only 2% were proficient, nothing partially proficient. And then in 7th grade, we have that 5% partially proficient. Again, the same group of kiddos, that's the 8th grade cohort. In something like this, when we get this data, we do look to see what happened to that kiddo in the green. Did they move schools? Is it the same kiddo? Did they backslide? All that information. But this is our future 8th graders. So we can, yeah, not there yet. We're not on the what's next. Hold on. And then, wait, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Well, it's ELA and math. And so looking at this data,
Not the content, but the rigor, I guess, of the subject. You know, it goes, you know, it gets harder
it does get harder every year. And that's kind of the issue. If we have kiddos who are minimally proficient at the 5th grade standard, and then they come and they do 6th grade, they weren't successful in 5th grade. So are they gonna be successful at 6th grade? Like, and then 7th grade, and then 8th grade? And then we're looking at ELA so this one starts at 6th grade. So when these kiddos were in 6th grade, we had 1% partially proficient, focusing on the positive for this one, and then 16% partially proficient. In 7th grade, we go to 6 proficient and 6% partially proficient. But when they're in 8th grade, we have 4 that are proficient and 27% who are partially proficient. So with this, you see that our 8th grade teacher was able to be successful and get some growth, right? We're getting rid of that red. Those kiddos we're getting closer to meeting those state guidelines and those state requirements in ELA. Because that 82% minimally proficient goes down to 69% minimally proficient. So there is growth there. And then we go to our math. 8th graders, when they were in 6th grade, 1% partially proficient. In 7th grade, we grow them to 4% proficient. 1% proficient, then we grow them to 4% proficient. Then in 8th grade math, then it's 2%. So it doesn't decrease, the kiddos are about the same, it's just how it goes. Okay. So, and then my last set of data, it's the post-test. This one's good information for us because we do give a pre and post-test. If you look at the post-test on the left-hand side, look how closely aligned it is to the right side. We're doing something right with the testing. Like it's because they take the post-test and then the AASA, we don't get the results until June, but we give the post-test in like May or the end of April. We can kind of estimate how good they're going to do. And then the same with the,
Ms. Onse?
yeah,
In that post-test, it says not proficient, but there is no not proficient in the AASA. Is that because they don't do a non-proficient?
that's correct.
Okay, so there's 23%. So it'd be a lump sum then?
Yes.
If not, okay.
Yes, in AASA, it's only the 3 colors.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question. And then with math, we see that on the post-test, we had 7.8% who were partially proficient, and then AASA were at 5%. And then one more grade. Then we have eighth grade, same information. Eighth grade ELA post-test. So they're very close. And so this gives us a range. Kids go either way on it. And then the math. Okay. So that's what, right, here it is. So what does that mean, right? We have that information. We can see that our kiddos are struggling more in math than ELA, but they're struggling. So what are we going, so what now? We do have these district initiatives, and I'll go forward with telling you and aligning the information as what we're going to do with the data as we go forward. So with these district initiatives, this is all the good stuff we've been provided, all the information. We have our stretch goals. Attendance, 90% or better school-wide. 80% of students will show 70% master on essential standards. And that's our stretch goals poster. So, at Baboquivari Secondary Campus, we have integrated action plans. It's fine, I'm sorry, I did add this one. So I just wanted to align it. It's very similar to the other schools, whereas we're going to increase math proficiency by 25%, and we're gonna increase ELA proficiency by 25%, and we're gonna do targeted professional development. Just keep that in the back of the mind as we go forward. Okay, so based on that information, we know what the kiddos are scoring. We know how we need to improve them. So how are we gonna do that? These are our priorities for this school year. The big thing we are going to do is look at curriculum. What are they learning and how is it going? The district, we are using beyond textbooks as a framework for instruction. We have our years at a glance, which will allow the teachers to see exactly what they're teaching when they're teaching it. We have curriculum resources, and we have lesson planning. So what we're going to do and what our priority is on the secondary campus this year is we are going to ensure that we are able to see what the expectation for the kiddos to learn using beyond textbooks, which is actually great for for this framework, because it focuses on one standard every week or two, depending on how big the standard is. There is also an assessment, so we can then assess them based on how they test instead of waiting for the end of the year or the quarter to see how many standards they don't understand. We can quickly adjust and go ahead and fix it. Like not fix it, but go back and reteach it to assist them. And that's how we're using beyond textbooks. The lesson planning, the lesson planning we're actually going to be doing. Admin team will be following up and checking the teachers. So basically, Beyond Textbooks sends out a calendar. It gives us the standard for week 1. And so all the teachers should be teaching that for that grade level. But what we're going to do, that I'm not sure if it's been done before, is we're gonna follow up and ensure that our teachers are doing it. Beyond Textbooks was new last year, so our teachers were like learning how to like drive it, right? So this year, they're driving it. And we're just gonna follow up and give them pointers as they're driving along. So we're like, don't forget your signal, your turn signal, and all that good stuff. So that's what we're doing this year. That's our focus.
Can you point out, as we build capacity with the board, what the numbers represent? The numbers on the side.
Oh, those were not related to it. This is. So this is the numbers. So on this page, you don't have this page. I'm sorry. This one I added. That's on me. So on this one, it's the essentials 1, 2, and 3. And if you look on the new website, it's set up a different way than this one is. If you look behind you, it's 1, 2, and 3. So this aligns to Ascensions 1, 2, and 3. We're looking at curriculum mapping. We're looking at the YAG. We're doing tier 1 and then lesson planning. And everything I told you about the admin team and I are going over the YAGs. We're gonna make sure it's there. We're gonna coach as needed. We're gonna look at the lesson plans. And we have those deadlines. The lesson plans are due on Thursday, and that gives us time to give them feedback so they're ready on Monday. And that's how we're aligning this part. That's our first priority. Our second priority, we move into models of instruction. With models of instruction, we know high school is a big area, and we want to work on elevating that student agency and that student voice. We're ready to send off our kiddos to the real world. We need them to be able to speak up for themselves. We want them to be successful in whatever they do. Unfortunately, in whatever you do, you kind of have to talk. So based on this, if you look at this, the models of instructions, that big red part, elevates that student agency, and we are gonna go with preparing students for tools to be successful after high school. That's our AVID. And then we're gonna go to 7 learnings, because what is seen is culturally relevant education allows all students to be more successful in their lives. And so keeping to that, keeping the Himathag in the center allows them to be successful. So that's what our models of instruction are gonna be around. So with the 7 learnings, learning out of doors, the classes that can do so will be you choosing that method. Learning in community, we can always learn from each other. Our campus is not the only campus. Building those community partnerships will allow us to go ahead and learn in community. Learning across generations, inviting who we can into the community, into the classroom, getting our kiddos to read to the youngers, helping them teach, because a lot of times you learn more when you're teaching someone. So getting across those generations. Learning in redefined spaces. We all know that being at a book and a table is not the only way to learn. So what other places can you learn? Learning leadership and advocacy. What does that look like? Again, it's that student agency. Our kiddos need to learn how to speak for the people, right? Our elders are getting older and these kiddos are growing. Learning Indigenous language, and that's a given. When they're rooted and connected to their ancestors, it does them better. And then learning Indigenous cultural practices. We will leave those to the experts on our team, and that's why I said not all teachers will be doing all aspects. And then AVID, this is where the academic component comes in. In order to be a successful student, we need to be able to write. Inquiry, we need to be able to ask questions and be able to answer questions. Collaboration, we need to be able to work together. Organization and reading. And that's just to prepare college and career readiness. So we're hoping that, no, we're not hoping. Using AVID and the 7 learnings, we're going to move away from teacher as a director. That's that old school learning. I know I was taught a lot like that as a kid. So you have the teacher in the front, everyone in the back. We're gonna move away from that. Our kiddos need to be doing. You learn more from doing. So then we're gonna move from our teacher as a facilitator, our teachers who are there, then we're gonna move into a consultant. And that's gonna elevate that student agency. So looking back at this diagram again, with models of instruction and the 7 learnings, the students will learn to be independent, collaborative, and have rigorous lessons. The 7 learnings in AVID will be culturally relevant and rigorous. With models of instruction and AVID, they'll learn student agency and individual determination. And then this was just that same idea, how is it gonna be done? And it's just, this is for me and and our admin team. We're gonna follow up with the teachers. The expectations are the teachers will be including the 7 learnings into their lesson plans. We will check via lesson plan. It's not in the, this one's not in there. Will not be in there. And they'll be required to do one a quarter at least. Again, we don't expect them to do all 7 because you can't do all 7. I cannot teach the indigenous language of this area, so I wouldn't expect someone else to do it if they hadn't learned. Teachers will use avid Wicker strategies, and that's going to be the expectation. We are going to be starting off with one area a month until our teachers get really good at it. And then all middle school students are going to be taking an avid skills class. That's the expectation. And that's kind of our what now, right? We know how our kiddos are performing. We know what skills they need, and we believe Wicker can help us with that. So how are we going to do it? We're going to go ahead and give all our students 7th and 8th grade an avid class so they can start learning those skills they need to be successful in the classroom. And then teachers will use the models of instruction to engage students in learning. And that, again, team and I will be following up with that. And this all goes under Essential 3, which is up there, lesson plan and Tier 1 instruction. Then our third priority is going to be assessment. With this one, it hits Essentials 4, 5, 6, and 7, which is the formative and checks for understanding, our Tier 2 intervention, our spiral, and our benchmarks. So how often are they checking for understanding? In every class, every day. District formative assessments will happen according to what is recommended by Beyond Textbooks because they are the experts, we've seen by their scores. SCAs will occur for like our elective teachers who don't have the DFAs in the system because there's some classes like digital photography that is not in Beyond Textbooks. So they'll have short cycle assessments. Then we have our district benchmarks that are done quarterly. We also have a universal screener, and that's a nice tool because it's tested at the beginning, and that one allows us to see what grade level they're actually reading at, what math level they're actually able to perform at. Because as you know, if I don't know 8th grade math, it's gonna look like I'm minimally proficient the entire year if I do 5th grade math, right? But this universal screener can allow us to see if we were able to bring that student from 5th grade math to 7th grade math. That's growth, and we'll be able to see that and document that with. And then our once-a-year tests are the state testing, AASA, and just kind of preparing them for the standardized tests. And this is done. And let's see, okay. And then our fourth priority is the collaborative systems. And these address Essentials 5, 9, and 10. The academic supports that we're gonna have, we have MTSS, AVID, we're gonna do the reteach and enrich, okay? This is where I'm gonna start moving forward. So with the data that we saw and these priorities, what's to be expected? All our middle school students, as I said, will be having an AVID skills class. But based on their skills and accepting the reality of their AAS scores, we know that they're going to need some reteaching. So we have an intervention class as part of their school day so that we can use this data that we get in real time and actually focus on those standards that they need assistance with. And that's where we're going with those academic supports, all 7th and 8th grade students. We also have a plan for our kiddos who need that enrichment. So those kiddos who have been successful on those standards, who need an activity that continues to keep their mind going, so they just don't learn to be stagnant. And that's what we're going to be doing with them. Behavioral supports that we have, they're gonna have the counseling ABCs, which is academic, behavioral, and college and career. When we get a college and career counselor, that position's still currently open. And then our instructional supports is that lesson plan review, observation and feedback, PLC collaboration, and then our professional development is gonna be data analysis. So in part of this, what we know is sometimes our teachers get busy or they feel like they don't have time. So as part of this system, because we want to make sure our reteach and enrich is done properly, They will use some of their PD time to go ahead and look at the data and prepare for the following week's reteach time, because we're going to give it just as much time, if not more. And then our instructional tools and our management support. What we've seen based on the information that you receive from our juniors' ACT scores as well is our students need more assistance in testing, and they need to look at the standards. So what we're doing this year, and that's kind of different, is we have an ACT prep class that'll be focused on the sophomores. They're gonna do 1 semester of math and 1 semester of English so that they're prepared their junior year. Because again, they take it their junior year. So on top of their English and their math, they're also gonna have an ACT prep class to prepare them, because we're not gonna forget about our high schoolers. But it's that timing component that they will also learn in there. And then, that's it.
I have a question. I don't know if I'm gonna, sorry, hold on. This type of information shouldn't make me emotional, but it does. But I just wanted to say, want to thank you especially. I think that there's been a lot of discussion that we've had generally at this table that you've been privy to. And as far as what I can
Can you
see
get
right
closer
now-
to the microphone, President Mundia, please?
As far as what I can hear right now is that you are taking a very aggressive approach to making sure that these kids are going to be as successful as possible, and it really does make me feel really good. Not only as a parent, but as what we've seen over the years as a board. I know that it will take time to see, but I can't wait to see it be put in action and for them to finally feel this response. So thank you, first of all, 100% for putting together what you have with your team. The other question I have is the universal screener Renaissance. Has it been used before, or is that something that you've seen in action? Because that sounds like that'd be. I mean, why haven't we been? If not, but go ahead.
No, at the secondary campus after COVID, with the last admin team I was with, which was, with Ms. Sudam, we were tired of seeing the red.
Yeah.
And we wanted a way to see the actual growth they were doing. So we did look at a few screeners, and we did see which one will show us where they're at. And we started with this one, so I believe this is the 3rd year with it. Intermediate campus does have actually a similar one, because I was privy to being there. They also have one, but it's not Renaissance.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think as much as you're tired of the red, we're tired of the red. But from what I gathered, the systems that you've put in place, again, I just cannot wait to see put into action. It may not seem, I don't know, it just felt like that was something to really celebrate with you at this point and encourage and just say thank you above all. But it made me emotional only because there was another thing that I wanted to mention, and I don't mean it in any way other than this is what I heard today. I heard someone say, when we say this is what it's like in the real world, we degrade or make it as so what the world they're living in is not as great as that. And so I had to take that into myself to say, okay, that's very true, because whenever I say, well, in the real world, it's like you're telling them what their world is doesn't equate to that world, and so they're not as good. And so I'm hopeful we can try and get away from saying that to our kids as much as possible. I know we want them to be successful, but I felt like that really hit me, and that came from someone locally, meaning an elder who said, I appreciate that you're saying that, but when you say that, it makes me feel like what I've lived all my life in reality isn't enough, or doesn't meet your level of real. So in respect to those that I think that we have interaction with as a community, I just felt like that was something I wanted to share with you. I'm not trying to make it a deal. I just felt like that's it actually was a really good picture in my head to say that to a child now and call them less than without calling them less than. In the real world, this is what you would do. Because they do have real worlds, and for me, it was definitely something to take in. So that's all I wanted to share, but ultimately, I think you've definitely looked at the what, and I'm excited to see how this is going to be really impactful on our children, especially those heading into secondary, and with what you've been able to observe here and take there, which is all I think we've pressed for and really wanted. So again, that's all that I have for now. So, sorry
Thank
I got
you.
emotional, but I did. Anything else, Miss Anna?
I'm really glad you brought that up, Juan, because speaking to people, and it makes me more aware of like what I'm saying. So I'm glad you brought that up because I hear myself saying that sometimes. So like I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna be more aware of it. But I do want to say I really appreciate how you shared the information from students from 5th grade and their progression all the way to 8th grade. That was very helpful to see like how they progressed throughout that time and if they regressed at any point and what has been done. I appreciate that. I also like the idea of all these things that you have set in place to if students are not quite prepared or have need intervention, and how is that going to be done. And I love that you set up the ACT prep for the sophomores because that's something that I think a lot of our students have a hard time because it's timed. The test is not culturally relevant to some of the information, our students. So I think that's really helpful. So thank you. I thank you for all your efforts. I am just as excited as Juan to see the progress that's going to happen on your campus.
Miss Vance?
I also want to thank you for the presentation, and I'm looking forward to seeing all this fall into place, and I'm really glad that you did do the, like Anna Marie said, the prep, but also with the 7th and 8th graders, the testing that you're going to be doing to make sure that if they're not at those levels, and that there's going to be a system in place for them to make sure that they get to those levels. So that's really good. But on the slides, if we can get copies of the ones that we
Yeah.
didn't get, because that I think is important too, to see as part of your systems in place, what you're gonna be doing to make sure. And I know that with the Beyond textbooks, we had Miss Medina and Miss Kinsey come and do a presentation on what they do to make sure to help the teachers throughout the year. So I'm really glad that with math being, and you had mentioned being at the low point, that the interventionalist,
Intervention, yeah.
Mr. Roberts. I'm really hoping that that connection right there is going to happen and then move forward and help that, because I think that that is really important. So I'm looking forward to the new year. I'm looking forward to seeing all the changes being made, and it's good. So thank you.
Miss Ella?
I just want, on the priority number 3, I think that's, to me, that's good where you're going to have every class, to monitor the students. And it's very helpful for our kids, and then you check on them and then monitor and adjust. And also, my question is, do you now have math teachers?
We currently have an eighth grade teacher, eighth grade math teacher. She came last year. So we're hoping that it will go all right because, again, it was her first year. She came in like November. So this will be her first full year. She is a very eager and so excited to learn. And like a project she had last year, you actually saw in one of the board videos was that math one where the student was describing it. That was her assignment for the student at the middle school level. So she is gonna go off running. As far as for the seventh grade math, we actually have that currently, we have an intent to hire out for the person. And so we have to wait for their, legal, what do you say, Ruben?
We've been doing, we have continued to collaborate with the University of Sonora and the University of Sinaloa and the teacher unions in Sonora to recruit teachers. In one of those recruitments that I've been driving on the weekends to Sonora, in the virtual meetings that we have, we came across it's a Dr. Argenius Baez Ochoa, that has been recognized around the world for his contributions in engineering and science and math. He was interviewed, snatched firsthand by Miss Constance, and he has a tourist visa. He came and participated during the teacher induction as he continues to work on the process. He's visiting and volunteering his time to be part of the teacher induction, so he's showing a lot of interest. And as a bonus, he has 3 children that will be enrolling in our elementary school. So it keeps getting better.
And he teaches robotics right now in Mexico, so that'll be, yes. So hopefully sooner than later, unfortunately, I don't know the time span, we will have a seventh grade math teacher.
However, the system in place to be able to cover that,
Yes, we do have someone who will cover long-term until then.
Is that it, Ellen? Ms. Sylvia?
Thank you for your presentation. So the areas that I'm hearing is, your models of instruction. Actually, you've gone beyond the accountability because your expectations of constant monitoring, which is good, because I don't think, I would have liked to see more of that before, but I think that your plans to, and you know, and then you're basing your models with the essentials, 1, 2, you know, how you mentioned them. So, and I appreciate that. Also that the cultural relevancy, because I think throughout from their elementary through their intermediate, you know, and then they get to high school, and that's prevalent of them to really be part of that, to really know who they are, you know. So I appreciate that. And as you were talking, I actually have a junior and a senior this year, so I was kind of like, okay, they're quiet, and I'm hoping that you'll, you know, bring them out of their, you know, and get them more involved and more, what do you call it, engaged. And I think all the students really would appreciate that too. So I think that's it for now.
Go ahead, Anna.
Sylvia brought up a point I was going to talk about, which was the cultural relevancy. I think that's something that's really important. One of the things that stood out for me was the 7 learnings that you have in here, because it touches on so many different ways that you can engage students and get them out of the classroom setting, but also getting them engaged with the community and getting connected to culture. I think culture plays a huge part of getting our students to get to know who they are and their identity. And when somebody has a strong sense of identity, they often do a whole lot better than when they do leave. And I think that's been done. I've seen it with my own child. I've seen him grow tremendously from Mr. Enos's support and him providing guidance, not only to my child, but to a lot of the males that are on campus by providing that cultural relevancy. So thank you.
Ms. Sosa, the last question I had in regards to this, the assessments, is there or do you have a system in place to not only make sure that the parents are understanding, but that they're also included in all that information? Because it is very pertinent to them also supporting what we need for them to be able to do as a student, as either progressing or has regressed inside of their education. So I think that'd be really good to hear, or maybe something we can hear back from you.
The really good thing is everything is actually in synergy. The assessments will be in synergy. So in their intervention classes, when they take it, the way Beyond Textbooks has it set up is if they're not successful the first time, we reteach it for a week or two, depending on how long that unit is and the concepts and how difficult the concepts are, and then they take it again until successful. So those will be scores that'll be going in there, as well as the DFAs have already been uploaded into Synergy so that parents will have that access through Parent View, as well as the district benchmarks.
Great. Mr. Diaz, and then you guys can go because he's been raising his hand. Go ahead, Mr. Diaz.
I don't mind waiting. I want to thank you for your presentation as well, and all the time and effort that you have put into it, and all of the knowledge that you're putting together in one place. I want to thank and acknowledge also the board for the support. The 7 Learning, this is something that we learn about and you supported for us to go to visit Anahuac Medical in California. And Ms. Alonso was one of the ones that also visited. So thank you for supporting our growth and to be able to steal ideas from places that are already implementing it. Second one, you have supported the quality that you see is the quality of planning and time and effort that Ms. Anse has put into. But I want to thank you for supporting bringing her early, that allowed her to collaborate, and she has been instrumental and not afraid of taking advantage of the supports on board by tapping into Ms. Tanya Sudam and our Ms. Kinsey and everybody else that she gets a hold of. But it is not being afraid of now being tired of the red and taking advantage of the planning. And hopefully you get to see the systems in place. And now our job is now to hold each other accountable to support and challenge and provide the support that she needs to be successful. That's it.
Thank you.
Oh, no, that's not it. As you integrating the 7 learnings and one of the observations as part of the walkthrough that we conducted, if we can integrate also the pride in how to take care of our facility and show the pride in taking the facility to integrate it as part of the 7 learnings as well. That was it.
Okay.
I
Great, Anna.
completely forgot about that. I meant to bring that up with her too, but thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Transferred it over.
Yeah.
Bluetooth.
One of the things you brought up synergy. I think it's great that that's being offered, but Juan brought up a good point, like how are we providing that to parents, but also how are we training them to make sure that they understand how to use synergy?
Right.
Because it's fine, but if parents don't know how to utilize it, I think there has to be some kind of training for parents just to get in there.
Ms. Sylvia?
No, just to add to, I think Kathy had mentioned beyond textbooks. I like the idea that you had, they were introduced to textbooks, and now they're gonna drive it, which means that I'm assuming, and this was a question I think we had to Kinsey and Medina, whether or not it's, if everybody's bought into it, you know? And so I think with your statement, and now they're gonna drive it, and so that, I think you'll find hoping we'll find, you know, the red going away slowly. But, so synergy.
It's Parent View. It's called Parent View for you all. As
For the
parents, you don't know it as Synergy, you know it as Parent View.
Yeah, yeah, and, so, I have one of our students as my student worker this summer, and so she said, oh, I got my schedule. I said, you did? I said, how did you get it? And she said, oh, I looked it up in Synergy. So I was texting my grandchildren, telling them, look in Synergy, your schedule's there. And send it to me.
Thank you. That's share accountability. Systems in place and share accountability. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, because I know, it's funny because my daughter was talking to somebody and they said, because one of my nieces is still trying to get her GED, and they asked her, did you get your GED yet? And she says, no, I graduated. And I told my grandkids were sitting there, I said, they had no choice. And so, and they the same, is what my expectation is of them is.
Okay, are we doing models of instruction?
Yep.
Just 1 second, sorry.
Buckle up.
What are we doing now? Is it in here?
Yes. Did you add any
Nothing was
slides on it?
touched, nothing was touched on this one. It was just the data pieces I wanted. Okay, we ready? Oh, Clarita. I know we were excited. Okay. So our models of instruction. Again, this is the reason why we're changing our mission. Look at the secondary's missions, vision and missions on the right-hand side. It's very wordy. It's like a poem. We're going to, like I said, we're going to work on changing the secondary campus a vision. Or mission. It's a great mission, but it shouldn't be one that I have to take a deep breath in between to read. So we will be working on that this year, and then the vision. Okay, so what are models of instruction? A model of instruction is the framework for teachers to plan and teach, and it's their guide that focuses on instruction. So it lets them know what they're going to be teaching. It also allows them to create a deeper learning and student-centered culture. So why are we focusing on models of instruction? Because we want to make sure there's clarity. We want to ensure that everyone knows their expectations. We also want to increase that agency and rigor. We want the kiddos to have some work they have to do, but we also want them to be responsible for it. That's the big one, right? We want them to be responsible for it. We want that continuous improvement. We want to increase student voice and their checks for understanding. So for teachers, the benefits of this is it provides structures that align to a shared plan, so everyone has the same plan. And it also empowers teachers to plan and monitor learning tasks. For students, it engages the students and it empowers students to become self-motivated learners and prepare them for whatever world they want. Okay, so our instructional expectations on the secondary campus, in order to create teacher clarity, lesson plans will be required, learning targets, and success criteria. We also need to be hearing students speaking in the classroom every day. They should be speaking, writing, or create a response, and it needs to be based on academic content. Like, it's good for you to be talking about yesterday, but we need you to be focused on what we're learning in that short amount of time. Our classes are 49 minutes, so we don't have very much time for each content area. And so our checks for understanding are going to be frequent, clear, relevant, engaging, and non-threatening. With our kiddos who don't want to talk, we know that they're just afraid to be wrong sometimes, right? We don't want to be wrong because we don't want to be embarrassed and we don't want to be laughed at. That kind of tends to be the trend. As Native people, we like to laugh, and we'll find any reason to laugh. And what is it when someone says something wrong, you know? So in order to avoid that, we're gonna make those checks for understanding non-threatening. They're not always gonna be allowed. You stand in the center of the class and tell me what your answer is. And they are gonna be formative. So with this teacher clarity, what's the point? Teachers need to make sure that students know what their expectation is in the class. Today, when I go into my math class, what am I expected to do by the end of the class? So those goals need to be clear. And then how do they show that they have mastered it? If I draw a line on the page, does that show that I've mastered multiplication? No, it doesn't. So what do I need to be able to do to prove that I've mastered whatever the lesson is? So that's what our teacher clarity is about. And this is their lesson plans. So this is what our lesson plans look like on the secondary campus. And this is just for the teachers to let them know that the learning target you write here is gonna go on your focus board. What is that success criteria? That goes on the focus board. That way the students don't have a question and know their expectations. So what is required, again, it's just the same thing. But in regards to what else there is, the learning target needs to be written in student-friendly language. It's not in the teacher's language. It should be something the student understands. The students need to know what they're gonna be able to do. It needs to be an I can statement. I can multiply two-digit numbers. And it should be observable and measurable, and it should focus on whatever that intended learning is for the day. And the success criteria specific to the day's lesson. So we could be reading The Crucible. There should be a different target every day. It's different success criteria to prove how I understood what was going on that day. And that's what that success criteria is. It's focused on concrete learning. I know I am successful when I can find 2 pieces of figurative language in this text. It shows what's important quality work, and it allows students to assess themselves as they work. So if a kiddo was doing figurative language and they only found 1 piece of figurative language, they realize, oh, I don't know what this is. And so then that's what can start asking them, and they can start asking those questions and getting help when they need. Collaborative strategies. This is what creates the student voice. On the secondary campus, we will be working, as I said, using AVID strategies. We have 3 different levels: mild, medium, and spicy. So the spicy one, it's not always everyone's favorite thing, right? So we might be staying in the mild part for a while. But these are ways that students can go ahead and collectively collaborate and work on an assignment. We have the jigsaw activity. They can have a row game, a partner quiz, a carousel brainstorming, concept mapping, and it is all information and it is academic. So it's based on what's going on in the classroom. And then medium, we have our gallery walks, cafe manager. And since this is for our teachers, we also have a link right there in which they can click it and it'll give them the resources they need in case they're curious about another one. So our checks for understanding. Oh, as you'll learn, the secondary campus likes food, right? So our checks for understanding, we have our appetizers, the main course, and dessert. So what are ways that we check for understanding? We can do bell work, a quick write, a quick draw, a brain dump. But if we're in the middle of the class, you don't want to do bell work in the middle of class. So what other ways can a teacher check for understanding? We can ask some open-ended questions. We can do some electronic polling. We can do a random reporter. We can define vocabulary. Dessert, that's towards the end, right? They could have a card sort, a lesson summary, exit tickets, but these are all ways for our teachers to check for understanding at any given point during the class. Okay, so with this school year, models of instruction and the language of models of instruction is new. So we understand that it may take time for us to get everyone on board at the very beginning. So looking at this, our goal is all teachers will be trained on model of instruction. So at the very beginning, during our time back, we'll go over what models of instruction are, what the expectations are, so they're not confused. A confused teacher will make even more confused students, right? So we need to make sure we're clear and articulate at the admin level with the teachers. So we go into quarter 1. In quarter 1, our goal is that 40% of our classrooms, when we do walkthrough, will show evidence of models of instruction 100% of the time. So 40%, so 4 out of 10 classrooms I walk into will show models of instruction 100% of the time. Then we go into quarter 2. That's December, or well, that's October to December. Our goal is 50 to 74. We know there are some that we're gonna be like taking a little while, right? We all learn at different speeds and the practice. So we know that's gonna take some time. Our goal for quarter three is 75 to 89%, and our goal by quarter four is that 90 to 100% of our classroom will show evidence of models of instruction. It is a hefty goal. And this is our goal, to elevate that student success. Again, the teacher working the majority of the time and the student sitting there waiting for the teacher to stop working, essentially is what that is. To the teacher as a facilitator. So the teacher releases that, releases power, releases activity, and lets the students work. So the teacher's in the middle, helping the students, kind of telling them what they need to do, but by the end, the teacher is just there and the students are asking the questions. And it's essentially the students running the classroom and the teacher's just kind of there guiding them at the very end. That's the ultimate goal. Because again, as a teacher, when you're teaching someone, you're doing most of the work. And then these are just the resource links that we have in here. Sorry. That was quick.
Okay, Sylvia.
Just had a question.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything on attendance. Because I know that. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't hear anything on attendance. Is there somewhere that we missed that?
No, at this point, attendance will come later as the goal because this is a big feat. This is a campus that we don't know the levels of the teachers. They're all at various levels. As the admin team, we're working with them. As far as attendance, we do, our attendance clerk does send the attendance and does that, and we will work with an attendance committee. The secondary campus didn't have a behavioral support specialist last year, the entire year. We have a new gentleman coming on who will also do the MTSS, and that's where we're gonna go ahead and allow that to be. I have not met this gentleman, he has not started yet. He's come for new teacher induction, but as a employee, so we will work with him as we go forward. So I didn't wanna say there was a plan if he didn't have any say in it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
May I add, President Molina?
Mr. Diaz?
What I'm looking for is, are we building a plan that wants the students to be in school? What I want to challenge my administrator is, we have data for the last couple of years. We making a difference in how we're gonna engage the students, the activities that we're gonna put in the classroom, and let's continue to monitor the attendance to see what impact it's having with all of these initiatives that we're bringing in place. Are they having an impact, and are they wanting the kids to wake up in the morning and come to school? So I'm looking forward to see the plan that she's going to put together. But nevertheless, everything that we're doing, one of the questions that we can ask is what the impact is having, not only in the academics, but the way she's going to focus on the 7 learnings, the way that she's going to focus on engagement strategies, the way she's going to hold the teachers accountable each quarter, how to increase the implementation. I think it's important that we continue to see what impact that's going to have on the attendance, on the teachers wanting to be in school and the students wanting to be in school.
Nothing else?
Great. Appreciate you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your
Thank you.
presentation, Ms. Once.
Do you need a break, or you ready to move on?
I need a little break, if that's okay. Like, I just got to the restroom.
Okay. Do we stop the live stream and then reconvene? Did you start the live stream? Okay.
call the meeting back to order, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Fox.
Let's give it a hand. Come on, Mr. Fox.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Good evening, President Buendia, board members, Superintendent Diaz, and the rest of us. I am very happy to present the three-year plan for success for Indian Oasis Middle and High School, the accelerated campus. Not that happy. So we have our mission for the district and their vision, and we have the Indian Oasis Middle and High School accelerated campus mission and vision. So our school-wide goal is by incorporating self-assessment, progress, leveraging strength, choice to demonstrate mastery, and reflect and adjust strategies, we're going to increase by 25% our ELA and math scores. Some of the ways on the right where it says, did they learn? That's just some of the ways that we look to see if the students reach the mastery level that we're expecting. It doesn't necessarily always have to be pen, paper, quiz, 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 test, test, test. There's a lot of outside the classroom, outside the test itself that can show mastery. So we are really, that's one of the things we're most excited about. And we want to empower our students. We want more than engagement. An empowered student is an engaged student, and by knowing their data and where they are, and we'll get more into that, we're hoping to really put the education on that individual student and make them responsible for themselves. So the very first part of the three-year plan was clearing the land. These are we went over this, I'm not gonna go again, but we have put these in place. There's always weeds growing, so we're always clearing land, and we're always ever fixing some of our structures. But we're data-driven. We have to go by what the data says, and that is our year 2 is build the structures that are guided by the data. So we looked at 3 main factors that will help our students to achieve and to get to the place where they want to be after high school. Number 1 and foremost is attendance. Course assignment completion rate. Not only did you come to school, what did you get done today? How are we moving along? Are you keeping track of your time frames? And then how we're going to do that is with our models of instruction, our curriculum, which we all know is Edgenuity, and the resources that we pull into the classroom to supplement Edgenuity to bring it more to life for them in their learning. So where's the data come from? Where are we getting it? So we get it from Synergy. That is stuff like accommodations, attendance, course history, discipline information, transcripts, graduation requirements, parental contact. And then we also get them, a lot of them come from Edgenuity. So in Edgenuity, these are just snippets of the things we get from there. We can get course history in Edgenuity as well as Synergy, what they've done, what they've completed. Time on course, the communication logs that go back and forth with the parents and guardians. Everything's time-stamped. So we know when these students are working, and we know how long they're working. Their progress reports are mailed home weekly via the email for any parent or guardian who has an email with us. Activity completion rates, attendance, and grades, because Edgenuity also keeps an attendance. And then one of the last ones where we get our data from is from the Cognia, and that's from the surveys, the My Journey. So we've already have a survey ready to go on the first day of school for our students, and it's expectations for the school and for the students. So we'll do that. But the My Journeys, they're kind of fun. At first, I got very, very little feedback, and so I'd run into the class and say, man, check your email. Come on, this is fun. And sure enough, as it came by, some students would say, Fox, are we getting a survey? It's like, oh my goodness. Okay, let's go survey something. So it's good that it's showing, again, empowering. Now they're checking their email. They weren't doing that prior. So all these little things are coming together. So here's just 3 examples of the Edgenuity data, because that to us is really the most important data. It shows where they're going and what they're doing. So the first one is an example of what the parent or guardian sees on a weekly basis, sent by the school. They can also go into Edgenuity, and they can log in, and they can have their students show them. But that's a progress report. So that is a career in planning development. The person has an 81.8% in the class. They're 41% through, but the target's 36. So they're actually ahead of the game by a few percentage points. It gives you the start date of the class, and it gives you the end date of the class. They're small, but they're there. Now, the second piece of data is something that the teachers and I look at. It's a dashboard. It's a very quick look at what's going on. And the third piece of data is one for the students. This is what we go over every morning with. We say, pull up your front page. Let's see where you are. You're either red, green, or blue. We don't want red. That means you're behind the game. And you can see in that first example, that young person should be very motivated to get moving because they are maybe 5 assignments away from being right back on track. It's that little tick line that's to the right of the red. And then you can see these other two are green. They're ahead of the game. In fact, they're really liking their government course. This is last year's data, by the way. Obviously, it's not this year's. So it's just one of the many, many pieces of data that are made available to all stakeholders. So we like the Edgenuity data. It's meaningful, it's completely current up to the minute, and after the first few go-arounds, it's very easy to understand. So some of the data that we're looking at is our 3-year comparison. So this is math pre and post, ELA pre and post. These are averages. I'll open the link and we can go through what gave us these so you can get a better idea of what's going on. And you can see, oh, wow, look, what a great difference. There should be a great difference. The pre-test is the first thing they do in that class. That post-test is the very, very last thing they do without even any downtime. It's not like they wait a week to take it. That's part of completing the course, so it's fresh in their mind. So we love the numbers, but we use them to build the strengths of the students. Say, look at what you've done. So for instance, we don't put the numbers on there. Cross your fingers, Ruben. All right, it's working. So this they don't get to see because it has names on it. You guys can see it because it has names on it, and we can go through it very quickly, but the graphs show this. This is just the origins of the data.
I think we are live streaming. We cannot show the names.
Okay, then let's get off of that. It's now we got numbers. So the students 1 through 31. We can't take pre and post data on every single kid because we have to have them for X amount of time. And unfortunately, sometimes we tend to be a revolving door with some of our students. They come for a little bit, they go for a little bit, they come on back. But the purple is the post and the red is the pre. So you can see that they are moving quite along. Your 8th grade that we had, I'd have to look up. We had quite a few 8th graders. This is only on 3 because the other ones came a little too late. But it shows growth, which is what we're looking for. And then we have our algebra. So this is anywhere from 9th grade to a 20-year-old student. We have to remember that this isn't your typical 9th grade class because we have students that are much older still doing the algebras, 1, 2, geometry, all that stuff. But you can see it's motivating to them because it shows them pretty good growth. Because we can say to someone, hey, look at little Johnny, you're number 6 on this. We used you as number 6. Look what you've done. And we just try to empower and build them up because we really know that we have to have intrinsic motivation in order for our kids, our young people, ourselves to succeed. Is we have to be internally motivated. Here's Algebra 2. This is usually a smaller number. So a lot of our students aren't there yet. But again, it shows a pretty nice growth on where they're going. Yes. Oh, let me go back. Oops. Get off of that one.
If you don't mind going back, what I want to point out, our goal is 80% of the students, they're going to score 70% or better in their standards. So if you click on each one of them, I want to invite the governing board members to find the 70% line, and let's find out if 80% of our students are meeting 70% or better on the post. So can you go back to the first?
So that's our 8th grade. So you can see every one of those is over the 70%. That is on the course they're working on. And then the algebra, you can see there's a few that dip below number 5. He's at 62%, or she, whomever it may be. Still big gains, and they still pass the course. But we're doing pretty good with having them reach that 70%. Yes, ma'am.
So those lines are individual?
Those are 17 individual students that were there long enough that we could competently use their data.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that's why they look different. That's why you're gonna have, we have a lot of more Algebra 1 students than Algebra 2. Geometry, let's take a look at geometry, because they probably have a pretty good number of students too. Only 6. But again, we got a few low dips there in the 60s. And then Algebra 2, a couple. And then we did use the intermediate algebra in there, but it's not really one we look at too much. So let's run into ELA. And that, yeah, I know. Everyone close your eyes. Okay, so ELA, we were able to pull 46, and we'll break those down as we go. But I believe that's at 75, so 70 is probably right. In fact, that one says 70. So right where that box is about where 70% is. So it varies. They're not all there. Something to consider, something that we're going to continually always work on. So there's your 9th graders, 16 of them. Everyone, 2 of them are under our what we'd like to see is a 70% mark. And it's kind of interesting, the ratio of growth is kind of similar depending on where you started. If you started at 15%, went to 68, it's almost the same amount as if you started a little higher. And then there's some 10th grade numbers for ELA, English Language Arts. And some 11th grade numbers. Do we have, before I close this down, do we have any questions we want to explore? Okay, thank you. Okay. So course completion. This is number, I mean, hey, 378, that seems good. It is not good enough. We had 100 kids. We had 378 courses completed. That's not enough. We are not hitting the thresholds that we want to hit. If you have 100 kids, we should have, that should be double, tripled that. I don't want to shoot too high up into the stars for this coming year, but I'm hoping that number doubles. It had gone up, but still it's a little too low for our liking because it says basically 100 kids, 300 activity at 3 credits apiece. That's not enough. We need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 credits a year. Because a lot of those credits, keep in mind, you guys, come from the classes that they've already taken. So they've already sat through there, so they shouldn't be taking 3 months to do a course they've already sat through. And that's part of our job, is to empower them to do better. Attendance rates, everything is revolved around attendance for us. We've seen it a million times. The students that attend on a regular basis, 90% or more, make up that 378 courses completed. So we've got to do a better job to incentivize and to get those students in school. And you'll see we have some, as this goes on, we have some initiatives that are hopefully, they're more than hopefully, they will make a difference because they're tangible. And our kids like, all humans like stuff rewards that they can take with them. All right, so part of our attendance issues were scheduling. We were having kids that were unable to get to school by 7:50 because of the other responsibilities that they had. Many of them had children of their own or are taking care of siblings. So we had a first period that was for a half an hour, but kids, majority of them weren't getting into school until 8:15, 8:30, and we've already done taking attendance. So with the guidance from our Elevate mentor, the 7:30 to 8, because our teachers have their PD from 7:30 to 8:30. So from 8 to 8:30, we call it turtle time. They can relax, they can get their breakfast, sit down, they can eat their breakfast. This is a time where we walk around, get a temperature on how the campus is feeling that morning, who's not feeling it, who is feeling it. Body language tells us so much, so that gives myself a time to go and take the temperature of the campus and see where we are, and that's when we say, hey, open up that ingenuity, let's see where you are. So it gives them, and it also gives them time to talk amongst themselves for 15, 20 minutes before they are stuffed into a class and told, library setting, no talking. So that's leverage for us, that's an incentive for them. We're hoping that the new schedule is very much a game changer for us. That seventh period where it says STEM, STEAM, enrichment and/or electives, for many of our older students, they get a class called Study Skills. What Study Skills is you have seventh period every day to work on the courses that you've completed but failed to earn credit on. So we give them the opportunity to prep for a test out or to just move as quickly as they want and sit individually with their teachers. Or they're working on their elective. And if they have completed their number of assignments up until seventh period, that's when enrichment comes in. They don't just get to go paint with Miss Garcia. They have to have produced for that day in order to get the go-ahead. So it's a incentive, and it is something that we're hoping the students work hard so they can do all the cool things that we now have invested in them. And again, it says it all right there. Low attendance rates are the root cause for lack of student success. And I could have added, and teacher frustration, administrator frustration, superintendent and board member frustration. It really revolves around that attendance. So our motto is attend it every day, start strong, stay strong, finish strong. And we're gonna preach that. So part of getting our attendance up is we need to get a PBIS program going. We need to get a store going. We have put out some feelers. We're gonna write to JOM when they send us a budget, see if they'll help fund it. And right now, we're in the process of trying to get one pushed through Desert Diamond with Miss Enriquez and Miss Begay-Lewis. So on the left, that little picture, that's probably what our PBIS store will look like. Old Fox is gonna run to the dollar store and buy a bunch of little goofy little trinkets and stuff because he's flipping the bill. But once we get funding, we wanna build a store. When you walk into our campus, we wanna have a display case, a PBIS display case with our sweatshirts, our caps, socks, all the things we know our kids like and they need. So eventually we'd like it to look like the store on the right. But PBIS is proven, it works, and it's also proven to be expensive. And you need those resources. And right now, Indian Oasis Middle High School does not have the resources, but we're gonna find them. We have two very strong revenue streams that we're looking at right now. So we're very, very excited about that. And for instance, a sweatshirt, that's like 1,000 points. You really gotta work for it. It's not, oh, I did my 10, let me go get a sweatshirt. It's kind of like being student of the month. So we're very confident that once this is up and running, this is going to be a big motivating factor for our students. It's gonna make them wanna come to school. It's gonna wanna make them learn and earn. So as we look into our model of instructions, this is also a year two initiative of building a structure. We're a blended learning school. We've had this conversation. Last year, I even showed you a little silly video about being a blended learning, but that's exactly what we are. Our teachers are coaches, our teachers are facilitators, our teachers are contractors, they're builders. Our students, it's almost flipped. Our students that achieve and advance the most, they come to school with questions. Teachers don't pose questions to them, they come to school. That's what we want all our students to be doing. But these are just some of the benefits of it. It's more personalized. They have tons of resources. We'll go over some of those. There's more engagement, empowerment, collaboration. This is the classroom of the future. I'm convinced of it. So I had to have one big messy slide for you guys to look at, or you wouldn't remember who did this PowerPoint presentation. So our curriculum and resources, you know our curriculum is Edgenuity. It is state approved. The little guys that come up in the corner and talk to the students, they are state licensed educators. That's why I say our teachers' role is completely changing. They're no longer the experts because, to be honest with you, not one of my teachers can be an expert in everything they teach. Brandon today, I lost Miss Armenta. I don't know if, I'll break it to y'all now. Miss Armenta is not returning due to personal stuff. She let us know last night. So they had to get out of synergy. They had to take all the classes that were Armenta. And Brandon came to me and said, "Do you know that woman has 82 classes?" I said, "Uh-huh." And that's probably 82 less than what she could have. That's how many classes my teachers look over. They look at all their content, plus all the electives, plus all the social studies. So it's an amazing, amazing feat. That's why they are not knowledge experts. And they're not there just to say, "I want information A, my brain to go into your brain, transmitting." No, 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 no. They're coaches, they're facilitators, or just what Ms. Anse was saying her teachers were doing, going to that paradigm. But I like to call them contractors. And I didn't make this up. I got this from somewhere, obviously. And it's because they're responsible for building, daily reinventing the curriculum, reinventing the coursework, reinventing the style of instruction. And we don't want these classes on the right, and we know we have those. Teachers that look like I used to look like when I did 7th and 8th grade middle school social studies at Safford K-8, that could have been me up there. We don't want that. We want what's on the left. Outside, we got kids in every different environment out there learning. We have groups, we have teachers circulating the rooms, we have them doing experiments in our garden area. So that's what we're looking, and these are some of our many, many, many resources. These are just the ones that we put up there, but teachers will find their own and bring them in. They're vetted. They don't just say, "Oh, today I'm gonna do this." They say, "Hey, Fox, we're gonna run this. What do you think?" But those are just some of the things that we use. It's amazing what a history classroom can teach you about the American Revolution. All listening, watching with guided notes. It's awesome. So we incorporate all of that to go along with their Edgenuity. And how that works is, if they do something different outside of Edgenuity, they still gotta take the test, the unit exam. We can just bypass some of the things that they learned via different modem. So far, it's been working, and again, these are ways to give our students choices, to empower them to take responsibility for their own work. So how do we do this? When do we do this? And who does this? So how we do is we follow the data. We see what works. We monitor, we adjust, we tweak, we change, and we just trust those models of instruction. Now? We're already doing it. It's an evolution of education. We're learning more and we're changing things every single day. When we come up here and do this in 2 years again, we're gonna have another new and fresh take on it. And who does it? Every single stakeholder. It's broken down more, but I wanted to start with this one to show that between the 4 of us, or 5 of us with Miss Meese, it's all of us. We are that little village there, so we all have equal amount of skin in the game, whether you're a math teacher, science, social studies, office manager, principal. That school reflects all 6 of us. And we'll break it down. Here you can see. So we do line up with our IAP goals, with BUSD district goals and initiatives, and ours. They're lined up very well. And these are some of our IAP goals. Modified schedule, teachers will have daily common planning, that's at 7:30 to 8:30. Yes, sir. That one didn't make it? That's not new. I don't think that's new. Maybe, it might be new. My bad. I apologize. It might be new.
Not on the one I.
Okay, well, I'll email it to you. My mistake, I apologize. So this shows some of the IAP stuff, and then shows who's accountable for it. So my job is chart my data, make sure it's getting done properly. We'll go into a little bit of chart my data in a minute, because that's a big factor for us. Make sure that my PDs are on cross-curricular activities that have ELA and math underlying them. Social studies is built for ELA and math collaboration. And fortunately, I have a guy named Mr. Alvarez, who when you're looking at things, he'll say, hey, I need a ratio. Tell me what the ratio of this to that is. And what proportion of America or wherever they're studying. So he brings math terms into the game, and we expect complete sentences in our answers. Not necessarily our notes, we're good with shorthand, but I have seen Miss Garcia, when she says, write down the steps, she says, no, who's doing it? Oh, I will. Well, then write that. So we really try to incorporate that in there. Edgenuity reports are for everybody. Chart my data, you can see, is for everybody. Data analysis, we look at it constantly. We have reports that we pull every day, and on Fridays we go over them and we talk about, well, how did you get so-and-so to do 25 assignments this week, and I couldn't get him to do 4. What did you do differently? And we find out what it was. But the most important, not the most important, but one that we're really looking to push is the student. Again, that student empowerment. They have to look at their Edgenuity reports. When Mr. Diaz and company comes through and he says to certain students, well, where are you in this class? Some of them look at him and say, oh, I don't know. I look at it, I say, man, in my head, man, you do know. But then the other ones will say, oh, well, let me show you exactly where I am. And it's like, that's what we're talking about. You know where you are, you know where you have to go. The student needs to initiate a conference with the teacher. The teachers look over, but they really do want them to walk over and say, I've done this dang problem 3 times and I've still got it wrong. The teacher knows they've done it 3 times. They've already seen it, but they want them to take that initiative. So for instance, Miss Armenta would say something like, do you have a question for me? Well, why would you think that? Well, because I'm watching you and you seem like you're stumbling in the same spot. So you should have a question for me. Come, give me a question. So we're eliciting them to have to speak and speak up for themselves. Students, interviews on goals and progress. I want them, when Miss Medina, Kinsey, and Mr. Diaz come in, I want them to be able to tell them where they are. That's important to me. And then the time frames, remember, these 2 aren't in there.
It looks different.
It's in there.
Oh, this one was? Oh, good. The way
But
it's printed.
he consolidated 3 pages in one.
Yeah, the way, yes, I'm a consolidator.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Okay, so the calendar of implementation goes with the shared accountability. In the beginning, we're going to continue to do our datas ourselves for our students, present it to our students, ask them to take it home, ask them to get it signed. But as time goes on, we are relinquishing that. And Friday activity for our students will be to complete their chart my data. The teachers, myself, will walk around and check on it, but we want them to actually go through the structure and the methods of completing the chart my data, because reading that you've only done 12 assignments in the whole week is compounded when you actually have to write it down there. And then we're gonna want them to go ahead and get that signed by their parents. So quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 breaks down where we wanna go. We know that 10 a day is a very good amount. We still want more than that. Wait till she catches up. Okay, so, just as you found it, we're probably gonna switch to the next slide, but you know how that goes. So in quarter one, we'll go over this real quick while they're catching up. Admin staff will model and work one-on-one with students completing their data charts. So we'll teach them how to do it. Quarter two, we're gonna kind of relinquish it a little to them, and we're just gonna monitor. Instead of teaching, we're just gonna monitor it and give some, make sure they're doing it accurately. That'll blend into a little bit of quarter three, but by quarter four, these students will be ready to move forward into the following school year, knowing how to do their chart my data all by themselves. And then when we have new folks come in, we'll do a buddy system on Fridays and say, hey, help show this person how to get this done. So we are looking forward to making our students a little more accountable. Okay. That was my presentation. I'm here for you.
Go ahead, Ms. Sylvia.
Thank you for the
Yes.
presentation. I did have a question out of curiosity, maybe, but how many of your students are 18 and over?
I can't give you an exact number. I can give you a rough percentage. I would say 65 to 70.
Oh, so
Yes,
majority
the
of them.
majority of them. That's why parental contact is difficult, because FERPA says we can't.
Right.
They're adults. So we have to have them have a signed affidavit that says that they give us permission to tell their parents what's going on, or else I'm gonna be on the hot seat with you folks when you get a complaint that I violated FERPA.
Yeah, because I was just wondering, because you mentioned that, you work with the parents, and then I thought, well, how many of them are?
And those numbers will go down too, because our middle school has drastically reduced,
Yeah.
which was a designed and planned effort. Because we're not equipped to have 33 ninth graders, 12 eighth graders, 6 seventh graders, and 2 sixth graders. And then what that does is it gives our older students an excuse to say, I'm not coming. I gotta deal with these little kids. So we've solved that problem for the time being.
So my assumption is that since the model that you use is Ingenuity, they don't use beyond textbooks at all? No?
No,
Okay.
they'll use strategies where we go to the Beyond Textbook training, because Beyond Textbooks has very good strategies. So we have strategies, but our curriculum is Edgenuity.
Okay. And like the Abbott program or the Abbott system?
Edgenuity has like Cornell Notes, which is kind of Avity
Oh,
built
okay.
into it, the guided notes,
Okay.
the scaffolding. So Edgenuity does encompass that.
Okay.
And then you'll have someone like Ms. Garcia, who for her ninth grade students or Algebra 1 students, they have binders. And she's very Avity in that section of things. So when you walk through, you'll see all these binders. They're all for Algebra 1, Algebra 2 students, geometry, but then they are less prevalent with the older students, because they're more apt to use Edgenuity to its full potential.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I always feel like the systems or the alignment, especially when it comes to the accelerated campus, has to be taken. Well, of course, it has to be taken completely different than how we would structure or model a campus that's focusing on I guess that front-loaded, little bit of front-loaded approach to how a ninth grader takes on ninth grade types of requirements, because you're working almost across the board with students that accelerate it. So one of the things I think that the appreciative part on working on the system sort side of it is trying to develop an attendance structure that would help those students who have the difficulty with attendance. Is the number one thing that probably, like you said, makes it frustrating, especially from this point, because we get on you guys about attendance. But nonetheless, it's not that I don't have questions. I think I'd mostly just want to be able to support and continue to support your effort in trying to make sure that not only are these students feeling like they're not just going through the motions, they're still getting that essence of what we want them to be able to feel in a sense of support, opportunity, and especially that they have what they have worth, so to speak.
Absolutely. And-
So, I mean, I don't mean to not make you feel like we have questions. I think you have a lot of data that you've provided that helps me feel as a board member comfortable in the sense that you and the team that you have, which you just mentioned, one team member's out, so 4 of you then?
There's myself, Mr. Alvarez, Ms. Garcia, Tiffany, and ESS, Mr. Frago.
Okay.
Who's ESS.
Okay. I mean, you know,
But yeah, when you lose one, you lose a large portion.
no, I agree because Miss Armenta yeah, she's almost been like a pillar of strength for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So I understand how that can be detrimental to some of the students. So now y'all will have to kind of pick up that essence and not slack, that that loss, so to speak. So I just want to say, from my perspective and what I've been able to observe, and been able to walk through and see at the campus, again, it just continues to be one of the strongest things that I will continue to make sure is as much support as possible. So I want to thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation, and definitely be interested in coming in to see anything that you're working on, and where we can support as a board.
Well, you guys know you're welcome to, no appointment needed. Open campus, welcome to come in, just like every one of our parents or guardians, come on in. You do not need, just check in with Tiffany. And I should have used one more little piece of data. Just out of those 15 right there, seven of them are either working full-time, going to a beauty school, 2 of them, or barber, or TOCC, and one of them's at the U of A right now, or she's getting ready to go to the U of A. So it's pretty good life after.
Yeah.
You know, the real world, I mean. What was it that we took, the real, what was that? The real life, the real world? It's,
Just the world.
yeah, it's the real world after high school, you know, and that's for everybody wherever you're from, whatever your cultures is, in real life after high school. And I think that's kind of what that saying meant. So thank you for appreciating and understanding what we're trying to do.
Miss Anna?
I do appreciate how you encourage students to take the opportunity to be their own ambassador of their education. I think that's really great, and if they're not interested in learning how to do that, like, I think you guys are on them about, like, oh, we need to make sure that you are successful, and how can we help you do this? I do also like the positive behavioral intervention support that you're doing, because I think that helps. It shows pride for students and what they're doing. I think you're doing a great job. I'm always a support for your program because I came from that, and I'm proud of it. And I'm always going to bring it up because it's something that I'm grateful for, that provided me another opportunity.
Thank you.
Anything, Miss Ella or Miss Vance, for Mr. Fox?
I just, excuse me, comment on the students, how well they're good grades in math, you know, algebra and all that. And I was going to say, maybe we can use that teacher at the high school. No,
Please
just
don't take
kidding.
Miss Garcia. Please don't take Miss Garcia.
Anyway,
What a great idea.
I'm glad this school is still ongoing. I mean, it started when I was working here at the school, and I'm glad it's still going, you know. And but I always wanted to, I don't remember her name, but I remember she was really upset when one of the board members said something about the school, and she was graduating. So she got up there and she was very upset with the board member and saying that, and then she said, well, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you, I'm going to college. And she was going like that, you know. And so I was just always wondering about that student if she did go to college, you know.
Well,
That was-
after this is over and we're not live fed, if you remember their name, we can look them up.
So anyway, the students are doing really well. I've been in the classroom a couple of times, and just like, thank you for your report.
Well, thank you.
Ms. Vance?
Thank you, Mr. Fox. I've always liked the way the teachers at your site were really helping the kids understand, like one-on-one. And I know there's a lot of students there, and last year when it was like 100 students that were enrolled, I was like, oh my God, how are they gonna do that, you know, with so many on site? But, you know, they've always went beyond teaching in general to make sure that the kids understood. And you can see that in the scores, and you can see that that the students are now, well, not now, but are going to be taking responsibility, just as Anna said, for their own success. And that's really good. Some of those students, they don't feel comfortable in a setting with a lot of students. They tend to just shut down. So I'm really glad that the Accelerated Academy is there for them, because if it wasn't, they might not want to continue. And that's, you know, they're, and you've said it before, some of the kids, all of the kids, they have potential. They have
Every single
everything
one
it
of them.
takes to be successful. They just need a different setting, and they just need to be taught a different way. And I think with all the schools, all the campuses, that's kind of what we're moving forward, is to find those students who aren't comfortable in that ordinary teaching setting, and work with them on those to bring out those their ability to be successful. So I like this, and especially with the block this new year. I like that because, as you know, my student is one of those that the attendance is really it's not good. And, you know, she has to be responsible, and as they all do. And I'm really hoping that this year that she does take that initiative.
Yeah, and your youngest child that is at our school is one of the reasons that it's punitive doesn't work. Getting on them doesn't work. It turns them around the other way. But when you go and you check with her and say, what's going on? Can I help you? I noticed you're going a little slow. Let me know. And you walk away from them. They don't feel like they've been berated. They don't feel like they're behind. They don't get up and get upset. They either continue to do nothing and we try again, or they actually start working, but at least they're emotionally safe. That's one of our biggest things at our campus is emotional safety, because if you get on there's an expression, being on the chip, it's a race car driving expression. If you're already at 12,000 RPMs and we take you to 12,001, we blow up. So we have to be a de-escalating system all the time, a safe system to where you can mess up. You can do nothing today and do twice as much tomorrow, and Wednesday still looks wonderful. So that's part of the empowering them. If they want to sit and chit chat because they live so isolated from folks, and they want to chit chat for an hour, but they did 16 assignments for homework, well, you might have an hour to hang out then. You know, they're learning time management skills as well too. So it's pretty neat thing what's going on over there, what we're trying to do for them.
And I also like that you are going to be taking more trips, or the classes are going to be taking more trips, because I think they need that too. They need to see what's out there and can be and a goal. So I really like that part. And then the other one was the seventh period, to start making up, whatever, that hour that they were talking.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? So I'm,
And that revolves into the PBIS. It's an incentive period. Again, you don't get to go use the really cool new airbrush and make an awesome painting if you haven't done any work during the day. It's not a freebie. So, and it shows two of our kids, the ones that did the art show, were doing nothing until we said, no art in the afternoon until you do something during the day. And guess what they started doing? Stuff during the day.
Yeah.
So it works.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Miss Sylvia, anything?
Thank you.
Just, thank you, sir, for the presentation.
You all.
So we'll adjourn this portion, and then we do have a special board meeting. I have a motion to adjourn. Motion by Miss Kathleen Vance,
Second.
second by Miss Anna Marie Stevens.
Was that me?
Oh, Miss Sylvia Hendricks, sorry. Second by Miss Sylvia Hendricks. All those in favor? Masapo.
Asapo.
Asapo.
All in favor. We are adjourned. It is 7:05 p.m. 7:07 p.m., excuse me. And we'll call to order the Baboquivari Unified School District Special Board Meeting, Wednesday, July 17, 2024. Roll call, Mr. Diaz.
President Juan Mondia,
Ian Heichik.
Clerk, Kathleen Vance. Board Member Sylvia Hendricks.
And hike it.
Board Member Anna Marie Stevens.
And hike it.
Board Member Ella Griswood.
Here.
She's here. Present. Did you call Anna? Yeah. Oh, okay. 5 present. We do have a quorum this evening. We'll continue our routine business. This evening is approval. And I have to make, sorry, I know it doesn't say this on your agenda, but it is approval of January 17th, 2024 agenda.
January?
Sorry, not January, July 17th, 2024 agenda. And then there is one action item. If you don't have your computer pulled up, there's an action item in there. There's one I would like to. Oh, yeah, you guys are good. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is just all. Have a good evening.
Have a safe trip.
Board, with your support, there is an item I'd like to pull from consent, which I believe is under B. Extra duty for board secretary. Other than that,
You're
everything else,
moving it from
pulling from consent and moving into action.
action.
For number what? B?
Consent, under number 4, letter B, I'm only pulling the board secretary, extra duty to action. Everything else, if I had a question, it was answered, so. Was that it? That's me. Anybody else? Anything else?
Motion.
Motion to approve with the changes?
Oh, I'll second.
Second Juan Mondia.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Masapo,
Masapa.
5 yes.
we have 5 yeses. We'll move on. We're gonna have to work on these agendas, Mr. Diaz. Okay, number 3, action item, letter A, discussion and possible approval of job description amendment for college and career counselor, Mr. Diaz. Because I keep looking at this and that's wrong.
President Rendia, members of the board, we are proud to present to you, we have one recommendation for the college and career counselor. It's a change that we're trying to make to be able to cast on a wider net. There was some recommendations also brought up by a member of the board, and possibly have some differential based on the degrees. Because we're not being fortunate in getting someone to apply, we want to change the job description instead of a master's degree to a bachelor's degree to see if we can widen our net to attract someone and put them on a plan to increase. Having said that, it is recommended that the board approve the job description for college and career coordinator, so that bachelor's degree will be the minimum requirement. This will allow more applicants to apply for the position.
But one of the responses I got, and just so you're aware, board, I don't know if you read your emails, but I was wondering, and I know that they're adjusting the name and the classification basically, which is the name from counselor to coordinator, but there was no adjustment to the salary. One of the responses was because we didn't change any of the duties. However, there's a lot of crossed out duties in here that I would say support some semblance of at least, if we're changing the counselor to coordinator, then wouldn't that definitely mean we're adjusting the salary to actually meet that level of requirement, lowering the minimum requirements, and changing the duties or functions of the position? So that was my question.
If we can have a motion for a conditional approval by making those changes, so we can advertise, we can go back and revise it and bring back an approval of job description that denotes a difference in pay based on their degrees.
I don't think they can hear you or anybody can hear
Sorry. We definitely, if there's a motion for a conditional approval to move forward with the differential in pay based on their degrees for a coordinator versus an actual college and career counselor.
Right, but I would like to see what that's gonna be, rather than just giving a conditional approval for you guys to do whatever you would like, rather than the board being able to see, okay, what does that mean for coordinator or counselor or bachelor's or master's or whatever it may be, so that we're able to review and ask questions and then be clear on what it is we're approving. Miss Sylvia?
That was going to be my question too, is what is a coordinator's base pay in regards to BUSD? Because I know that there's a difference. Usually, in other companies, well, for instance, with TOCC, there's different levels of coordinators, managers, directors, and the pays are actually different. Also, as one mentioned, there are some duties that have been crossed out that doesn't seem to.
I'll be glad to bring them back before the board with those recommendations for your review.
I'm not done.
I'm so sorry. Please proceed.
And the other thing is, I wanted to find out if, in regards to requirements, you're just wanting them to have a bachelor's degree in Arizona. Is there somewhere we could say at least maybe 1 or 2 years experience in some type of
In the field.
in the field of, college counseling or something like that? I would like to see that in the requirement. So that way they accept, know what it is that we're looking for.
In what you struck out, it does say, and 3 years experience in a related area. You could just left in or 3 years experience in a related area, so that at least helps you guys to not have to like just hire anyone and then have to train them or have to give them all of the information on what it is that you're asking. So I think if we're gonna really look at and try to get it filled, it's all good. I'm not trying to say that that's a bad thing, but it's a little it's questionable, and I don't want anyone to question you guys or us on whether or not this was approved and kind of given a good thought. So that's the only reason I would not vote on it tonight and ask for some more information. But that's just me and Sylvia. I don't know if you guys have any other questions or comments. The last thing that I saw in here is the supervisors, the administration. Does that mean that they're just supervised by everybody? Wouldn't that person want to have a supervisor so that they're not kind of just pulled in multiple different ways? Does that administration just mean administration? Just, I guess, the points of clarity on the job description as well.
I have 4 points noted for review and bring it back. It's clarity on the duties, the salary, some experience to compensate for not having a master's degree, and clarity on supervision and evaluation. 4 people can supervise, however, only one person can evaluate.
Okay. Motion to table.
Second.
Second by Ms. Anna Marie Stevens. Table until it can be brought back to the board for review, discussion, and possible approval. All those in favor? Sapo.
5 yeses.
5. Thank you, sir.
Item B.
Item A was tabled. Item B, just real quickly, board, I don't want to harp on anything, but my only question and comment to the extra duty approval is, and there was a response to myself in regards to, for the time being, this was going to be the decision, which is 100%. I understand we need to have someone that helps in that aspect. But I definitely want the board to be given the opportunity in the future, if possible, to be able to not only give input or insight into who, but that position, if it is opened in the future, be given, I think we had a little discussion, be given as much of a emphasis on having someone with experience in that role. It's going to take a lot of people to deal with, not only the board, but every single person that has to come through the district office with the sense of professionalism, duty. I'm not saying that this individual does not have that, but we had only very recently hired the person being posed for the extra duty for the next 3 months. But I just wanted to make that comment in regards to the board secretary in the future. Hopefully that y'all understand. That's just what I wanted to say. Sylvia?
I think I also saw you raise a question about, has this always been done?
Yeah.
So basically, yes, whoever the AA or administrative person is for the superintendent, basically is the board secretary, because they work, I mean, that seems like it's common sense that, because they are based under the superintendent, and superintendent is also based under us, so they serve that position. Because I know Alla served it for many years, and I know previous people that have been in that position has also served both positions.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but the understanding at this point, due to the fact that, Ben does a terrific job, but because, of his ailments and whatnot, basically, I think it's just a temporary position that you know, which obviously, you know, Ruben does need, you know, and my question to him regarding that was that, well, what is this person going to be able to uphold the responsibilities of her previous position, plus do the work that Ruben wants in his position, and then on top of that,
Us.
serve us.
Yeah, us.
So,
Very
you know,
true.
it's just, you know, and he, obviously, I guess she's been working with Ben and has been trained fairly well, I guess, in what her responsibilities are in regards to what needs to be done for us.
President Murillo.
Yes, sir.
There will be a process, there will be a formal process when we open up the position. Due to circumstances that I'm not in the freedom to share. The right hand of the superintendent, it is a board, it is a secretary that I need to have access 24/7 on the weekends, early in the morning, late at nights. Right now, I have asked for support. However, for anything that I do, this is an hourly employee, that anything that I call, I need help in little simple things, including of getting ready for the board meetings. Sometimes we work until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, that we need to provide information, and I need to be at the freedom of be able to reach out to an employee and be compensated when I'm calling at 9 o'clock. Us, as when we travel, you know, us during the day, we have questions at all 24 hours during the day. And this is somebody that I want to be able to feel comfortable in conjunction with our current secretary to provide the support. This is only a temporary because I need someone and I need someone now. The year is about to start.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sylvia, for the kind of the history and then, of course, for the response. But that's the only comment that I wanted to share with the board, just in general, so that we understand. And if anything else, I'm ready to move forward if you're ready.
I know we had the discussion in a meeting already. I do understand that there is, you know, there's an eagerness to have somebody in there now because we need them. I do feel the same way you do, Juan. I think like the young lady has been here for a while, but she hasn't been here long enough. And I do feel like we need somebody who's more vetted, I guess you could say, because this position is somebody who's like the face of Ruben, his right-hand person, and somebody who's able to,
Wait, Ben is my face?
yeah, yes. Because it's somebody who's gonna help you with your job, and somebody who's gonna give us guidance, and also
Yeah.
who's somebody who's definitely going to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Very true.
And that often happens. So, yeah, I don't want to put somebody that doesn't have that experience in there. And so I do support because it does need it, but I do feel like we need to hire somebody ASAP.
Once again, I want to reiterate, there will be a process that anyone that will be willing, they will be more than welcome to apply, and it will be a fair process in which people, and they need to prove that they're going to be able to cope with our personalities and the responsibilities of this position. And definitely the board will have a say and be part of the decision.
And I think they sometimes even have to stand up to you on behalf of the board as well. So that's another skill that they'll have to build and be able to say, hey, the board, this, you know what I mean? Like how Ben will do sometimes.
Like Ben's always correcting us, and I was correcting you.
And corrects you.
Yes.
And that just comes with a lot of, you know, not only experience, but the comfortableness to be able to do so, which we respect. Anything else from the board? Go ahead, Mrs. Sylvia.
No, just wondering, I guess, between the two statements from Juan and Anna, so what you're saying is that we probably need to open up the position immediately and start the process of,
Yes, I'm gonna be bringing before the governing board a job description for your approval. And as soon as I get the funding cleared and approved by my business department,
That way we can move forward with what I'm asking the board for support.
But Ben hasn't resigned totally though, but, and I don't know, I know he did say, mention that he, would be retiring soon, sooner than he thought. But the other thing is that in order to, I mean, isn't, I don't know, I'd have to look at the policies and whether or not you can post a position temporarily because of the immediate need of.
This will be, again, this will be a temporary position that still needs to go through the process. What I'm trying to maximize is the fact that our current secretary has agreed to stay longer with us, and in the process maximize all the institutional knowledge to train someone. So I will be again coming
Yeah.
before you.
We might be stepping out a little bit outside of what the item is, but I do want to say in regards to that question, what Ms. Sylvia just said about how can we do that? We did that with the principal where we had approved an interim to kind of be alongside them so that we didn't lose one without gaining some knowledge for the other. So I think if that's what's going to be brought forward, then by all means, so we can kind of take a look at it. But I hear you on that getting that past the business department might be, because it would be basically funding to the same role
That is correct.
for X amount of months. But okay, we're getting off board secretary. Anything else from over here? Miss Ella or Miss
So,
Sylvia?
so what would the vote be? Just because he's asking for this position is to put this person in that position temporarily and pay stipend for that. But we're saying we want him to advertise for the position.
I don't have an issue supporting the need at this point. If something is going to be brought forward to change what that position is for the current executive assistant and secretary, then that can be done at a later time. I guess
Okay.
is-
No, it's just kind of,
Thank you for the clarity.
Okay. If there's nothing else, a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Kathleen Vance. All those in favor? Masapo.
Guapo.
Masako?
Yes.
5 in favor, motion is approved. Last is our, I lost my
I'll make the motion to approve for
consent agenda. Motion by Ms. Sylvia Hendricks to approve consent agenda. No me damos.
I mean, who was the first? Who made the motion?
Oh, Ms. Sylvia, I'm asking for a second.
Ah, sorry.
Second?
Second by Ms. Kathleen Vance. All those in favor? Masapo. All in favor, consent agenda is approved. Without objection, a motion to approve, is there a second? Sorry, motion to adjourn, is there a second? Sylvia Hendricks.
Okay, second.
All those in favor? Masapo. It is 7:29 PM, we are